Tuesday evening to all of you out there in off-season mode. Welcome into whatever episode this is. I stopped keeping track. This is the Martin Brown Show. I'm Jacob. That's Nick. Down there is Casey Kinnaman. I had a whole bunch of technical issues before this thing started, so I'm a little bit on the irritated side. We're brought to you as always by our friends over at Homage Apparel, so go check them out. Link in the bio if you're on the YouTube. If you're not on the YouTube, go to the YouTube, hit a subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, comment on a video, something like that. This is our last episode before we take a mini hiatus, so do some stuff. I'll have some draft videos and some content coming up. But we're brought to you by our friends at Homage. Give them the link down below. And gentlemen, how are we?
Well, all of a sudden, I know we talked about this before, but it's like the way the switch just flips from season to off season has been crazy. And while we've been gone, there's been a ton of change in the staff, and I know we're going to get into that tonight. But I'm good. You know what? I watched I just want to say, as we're going to get into our mini hiatus, but we have got Scarlet and Gray podcast, all kinds of Ohio State recruiting stuff going on. We got Across the Cavs. They're on an 8-game win streak. If you haven't noticed, lots of fun stuff going on over at the network too.
They broke the Bucks apparently.
Yeah.
They apparently just straight up broke the Bucks. I don't know what the hell happened there, but they did it.
We're going to see where that goes. But no, I'm good. I'm excited to get into this tonight.
I'm officially off-season Case. That right there. That's who I am now. I'll probably keep that up until at least minicamp. I don't know, just spinning my wheels. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to think about, a lot of directions they could go from here. And I don't know, man. I'm not overreacting to anything. I see a lot of overreactions. I'm just kind of waiting till everything plays out, and then I'll kind of go through everything. But I don't know, man. I'm excited for some new possibilities that could be happening for this team. I believe in the personnel. I believe in the management. I believe Andrew Berry. I believe they're in the right hands. I believe they're heading in a good direction. So I'm just going to let everything play out, and then I'll overreact at the appropriate time.
When's the last time we went into an off season with it being a regime's fifth with the team? Like, think about that for a second. Think about it for a second, that you are going into the fifth off season for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, because you had 2020 and 2021 and 2022, 2023, 2024.
Yeah.
Now as your fifth off season, which obviously would parlay into their fifth season. Romeo got 4, right? Did he get 4? He got 4 years.
Yes, yes, he did. Because he pulled off the 10-6 in year 3 to get the extension, and then after 1 year of the extension, they pulled the plug on that.
Yeah, which is interesting, because now you're looking in the modern day NFL at a lot of 5-year contracts, which is what Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry had, waiting for those extensions. I'm honestly surprised we have not seen extensions from them already. I don't know. Maybe it's just because they're more caught up in trying to build the staff for 2024 and trying to get their interviews in, because one thing I thought was interesting, because they kind of took a little delayed approach. It seemed slow out the gate for the Browns to start interviewing offensive coordinator candidates. And Casey, you brought this up in a conversation just where we kind of talked about that the Browns were actually a week later to everything, because they were in the playoffs this year, as opposed to last year when they were able to get a jump on, talking to Brian Flores and Sean Desai and Jim Schwartz and all the people they talked to last year. And it was a little bit different in this year, but we've got some coaching changes. So let's get right into that. Starting off the top, I think the Stump Mitchell thing was a little bit surprising, just because he was a fan favorite, just because Nick Chubb seemed to like him, just because they seem to get along with it. But honestly, I don't other than Stump being like a really cool looking dude, and sounds like a hell of a dude too. You hear him talk, like he seems like one badass dude right there. I'd have a lot of beers with him. I don't really know that it's this big, massive loss that you moved on from Stump Mitchell. Most of you probably couldn't have told me who the tight end coach was 3 weeks ago, so I don't really want to hear that from people either. The Alex Van Pelt thing, I think, is really interesting. So I'll give my thoughts, but we can start with you, Casey, and Nick. Just any takeaways? Like, are you upset about? Let's just talk about the firings. We'll talk about the direction they're going next as well. But just, were you shocked? Are you okay? Are you angry? Where are you with those 3 guys being let go?
A little shocked. We haven't seen a lot of turnover in this staff. You saw some last year because Stefanski was presented with an option and he had to get rid of some friends. Yep. But he has it in him. But man, it's evolve or die in this league, and I know that because Kevin calls the plays. So you can give a title of offensive coordinator, and that doesn't necessarily make you the play caller, but you're involved in scheme, you're involved in game planning, you're hands-on with all that stuff. He heads all the offensive meetings. That's what Van Pelt did. But I think if we're looking at a skill set perspective, Van Pelt came up in the West Coast system. That's what he came up in. That's what he knows. And if they're looking to evolve, they need to get guys with different modalities. You need to have a different approach. And if you want to take this offense to another level. So I'm not mad. It's evolve or die in this league. If you're not evolving, you'll get left by the wayside. You see teams who kind of get left in the dust because they're unwilling to adapt, and I think the Browns have shown that they're willing to adapt, and you can see the different type of candidates they've brought in so far. So I'm excited. I'm excited for what this could mean for this offense.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last week, but this was the first time in the Kevin Stefanski tenure that the Browns just could not run the ball. And so when you look at it, and especially when the pass game is so explosive, you would think that would help the run game get going a little bit, and it really just didn't. You hate to see guys get fired, right? And so I think it speaks to where the staff has come, that like it's a big deal that we're saying like a running backs coach is leaving. Like I think that's a good sign about where things are at. But I just think that outside of Nick Chubb, the Browns did not get what they wanted from their running backs. And maybe they said, okay, we need to maybe have a different voice in here, developing these guys, or just I think when you look at it, there's a lot of stats that we can use to dress up what the offense, like you can say, oh, the Browns were 5-1 and Deshaun starts, which is really 4-1, but the offense just was lacking that explosiveness with him, and I think part of that is because of the injuries kept stopping that development, but part of it too is maybe that the scheme that you're trying to do is just not the optimal. Like just because you are moving on from it doesn't mean Alex Van Pelt and Stump Mitchell and guys are bad coaches. That I think some people are taking it that way. They just might not be the optimal guys for what you're trying to do. And so I look at removing Prefer and removing Joe Woods and the improvement that led to. And so for me, that's bought faith with me that these firings are going to lead to more improvement. That's how I look at it. And so, yeah, I'm with you, Casey. I think it's exciting to see. I'm curious. I know, well, we're going to get into the hires, but generally it seems like these candidates are very experienced and have maybe called some offenses before that they're putting into these other positions. So I don't know. It's exciting. I think Browns offensive jobs are high demand. I think that they're in a place from strength right now. And so that's a good place to be. Yeah.
Let me get into some side notes. Josh talking about he thinks it's time to freshen up the offense. I'm with you. News on Deuce. I kind of think that he's leaning Jets. Like the Browns want Deuce Vaughn down here, but like the Jets are like dangling that like a assistant head coach position out to him to try to pull him up there. So it feels like it based on what I've seen, but I'm a little bit out of touch right now, a little bit tapped out. I'm just I took a hiatus starting on my birthday last week from Twitter. I was gone from Twitter until Sunday. And
happy belated.
Thank you. But I kind of took a hiatus there. I've been kind of just doing some draft content and some news content, so I'm a little bit behind on some things right now. But by the way, we are doing a mock draft in like, I don't know, like 20 minutes or something like that. So
if you haven't seen Jacob's draft podcasts, you should.
We're growing. Draft Film Room. You can find us at Apple and Spotify. We sat down with Jackson McCurry last week for mock draft 2.0. That was my first full round mock draft. I did the first one by myself completely. That sucked. Like I don't know if you guys have ever done that, like a 45-minute pod by yourself. It's pretty tough. Yeah. So we took turns last week. It was really fun. In this week, running backs. I'm doing my running back watch through, so we'll get top 5 running back episode will come out sometime this week. I'm trying to turn it up to 2 in a week, but it's a little tough just without a co-host, just kind of, going through some things right now. So if you want to check out the Draft Film Room, that's fun. So I saw someone compare this situation to what happened in Baltimore, and I think it's the best way to say it, because I can't remember who it said it on Twitter, but they talked about you didn't necessarily have to do something wrong to be let go of a coaching position in the NFL. It does not mean that the Browns are saying Alex Van Pelt sucks. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean they're saying Stump Mitchell and TC McCartney sucks. It doesn't. It means we've gone where we can go. And I saw someone draw the comparison to Baltimore and Greg Roman, and I think it's perfect.
Yeah. And Wink Martindale, they did it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know why I didn't even think about the defensive side of it. I was just thinking about just offense to offense, but they had gone where they were going to go with Greg Roman. Yeah. They were not going to win a Super Bowl running that offense. They could win a lot of games, but they weren't winning a Super Bowl. Now they're the favorite. They're the favorite right now, and they're one of 4 teams still playing for the Super Bowl because they went and evolved their offense and tried to put a modern twist on what they had always ran with Lamar, still making sure to utilize the rare physical gifts that he has, but also doing what works in the NFL. And what the Browns are doing works well enough, but it's not going to put them up there on that pedestal. They need to find a way. Listen, they tried to evolve around Deshaun Watson with the staff that they had, and it was okay at times, but it was not where it needs to be. They need fresh perspectives with different backgrounds, and we're going to talk about the guy they've already hired here in just a second, but they have got to get fresh, new, innovative. They don't have to be innovative in a sense like we're not trying to find the next boy genius necessarily, but they need to be innovative in their approach to this offense. They need to find a way to meld what Stefanski does and what, some of the other coaches like McVay and Shanahan, they're going to try to find a way to find a healthy blend in something unique. They're not just copycatting, but they want to find a way to utilize what they have on this roster, what they have in that building, and take them to the next level. And for that reason, I hope Van Pelt lands on his feet, but I think it had to be done.
I'd just like to add, it's not like the Chiefs' offense was bad with Eric Bieniemy, right? It's not like the Bills' offense was bad with Dorsey, right? But they both made those changes before and during this year, and both of them were playing for a trip to the AFC Championship game. All right. So, I imagine neither one of those teams took nearly the fire that whatever seems to be going on with the Browns and the mentality surrounding. I don't get that part. It's like the Browns just gave you concrete proof that they can remove coordinators they feel they can improve upon and then do so. Right.
Get results, like significant results.
So why is there such negativity surround? Like, I just need to understand that. It just doesn't make sense to me. And you have all these, right? You just mentioned the Ravens, and then on top of that, you have the Chiefs and the Bills, who are giving you good examples of teams that were already good, that switched out their coordinators and have improved upon it. So why is it a bad thing when the Browns do it?
Because a lot of these fans were raised in dysfunction, and it's all they know, man. That's the default. It's the default mode. And to Jacob's point, man, like sometimes things just run their course.
Yeah.
And you get as far as you can get. And the Ravens are an excellent if you just look what they were doing with Greg Roman, they were winning 10, 12, every year. But it wasn't going to be enough to put them over the top. So they go get Todd Monken. And for the love of God, can another team interview this dude for a head coaching job and get him out of there? Can we do that? Can we have that happen, please? But you see with Wink Martindale, like Wink Martindale's successful even in his next venture to the Giants, and he's already left on from there. Sometimes you just get as far as you can get doing a certain thing, and you have to know when it's time to move on. So the Browns thought they were there. I don't know, man. Like the Stunt Mitchell, like you said, he looks cool, but like
great beard,
a Hall of Fame beard. Let's be real. Like that's, yes. But I think that's a replaceable thing. Like Stump's cool. It's got a cool nickname. Like I get it, and you'll miss him having on your staff just from like an aesthetic point of view, but you can replace that. That's not irreplaceable. TC McCartney, I saw a lot of people's like, well, David Njoku has his career year, and now you get rid of the tight ends coach. My guy, they finally start throwing at David Njoku. That's
what happened, not TC McCartney.
Yeah, I don't see that as the deal breaker. Like all of a sudden, David's just, as long as you target Njoku, you're going to have those kind of results. So I'm excited, man, and I'm excited to see where they go. I think there's a lot of cool candidates out there, a lot of guys who could advance this system in different ways. They've already brought like one guy in we're going to talk about here shortly. And I don't know what his role is going to be. I think that's the big thing. There's $1 million question out there is because people are like, oh, offensive coordinator. Some people are making the assumption. I've seen Mary Kay Cabot. She thinks it indicates there's going to be a new play caller, which I'm not opposed to or in favor of. I'm neither one, because it depends on the type of offensive coordinator you get. They might be an excellent play caller and good at play sequencing. And in that case, I'm not like going to be mad that they take it from Stefanski, but do I trust Stefanski can get a grasp on play sequencing through a different style? I do. But there's this thing out there where tell me where this takes came from, because I have no idea. There's people, a large subset of fans that think Stefanski's just some power hungry, megalomaniacal guy who just wants power, and he won't relinquish his power. What press conference did I miss that he comes off like that? Mm-hmm. He's going to do what's best for the team. I promise you. That's what I can tell you about Stefanski. And if they do get a guy who's better at what he is at it, he will gladly hand the reins over. I don't see that being an issue. So I see that divide out there. Like, well, they have to get a new play caller. I don't think they have to or don't have to. It just depends on who they bring in and what that means for play sequencing and just kind of getting on a roll. I do have an area of concern. According to everything we heard this past offseason, Deshaun Watson had a large part to do with what they put in this offense. Mm-hmm. And it did not work with Watson from a fluidity standpoint. There was no cohesion. So you need to bring a mind in who's going to be able to meld the worlds of what this team, the principalities of this team, with what Deshaun Watson excels at. And if they weren't able to do that with Watson himself, I just wonder where that comes from and how that's received. You know what I mean? Because that matters a great deal.
Well, that comes to one of the candidates that I love, Texans quarterbacks coach Gerard Johnson. I wrote a piece for Browns Wire last week about the 6 offensive coordinator candidates that they could look at, and just so we're clear, they have shown interest in multiple ones, including Gerard Johnson that I threw out there last week, but when it's wooded. Anyway, but the thing is, you look at a guy like Gerard Johnson, who is highly touted by CJ Stroud, who's worked with him since he was 16. Johnson was like bounced around a journeyman quarterback in the NFL. So he's played in the XFL. He's played in multiple different leagues, and he's bounced all the way around. And so he's seen it from a player standpoint. He worked in Minnesota a little bit. He worked down there with Stroud and Bobby Slowick this year. And you just got to find you need to go find a guy that has either had success in that exact kind of scheme, or a guy that's innovative enough that they can figure it out. So like you said, kind of melding it together. I love Zach Robinson. I know Josh brought it up that Pittsburgh's trying to bring him, the pass game coordinator for the Rams. Anything that Sean McVay's offense, a guy, he's been with McVay for a while. I was actually kind of surprised when I went back and looked at how long he'd been with McVay, because normally guys that are with that have had a cup of coffee with McVay get head coaching and offensive coordinator jobs pretty quickly. So I was a little bit surprised that Zach Robinson had actually spent as much time with him as he had, and not been in this situation there. But Gerard Johnson's worked with him. He's friends with Quincy Avery, if that means anything to you. And CJ Stroud's close with Deshaun Watson as well. That's a guy that was in the building today on Tuesday. So that's interesting to see what goes from there. But yeah, man, you're right. You need to find a guy that can meld these concepts. It's either a guy that has worked with mobile quarterbacks and worked with that sort of success, or a guy that's been with an innovative offensive mind, which is what Zach Robinson is. It's like, yeah, they worked with Jared Goff. I guess he was kind of mobile, but it's like, what have they really done with mobile quarterbacks? Well, nothing necessarily, but their passing game concepts and the way they use their motions and misdirection. And we watched it. We watched it destroy Jim Schwartz. I seen it. I seen it with my own eyes, what that passing game could do to any defense. It made some really good defenses look really bad, and LA went on a tear to make it to the postseason. So, you find a guy that just, he takes what he does best. You take what Stefanski does best and what those guys do, and you meld it together and you build it around your players. You adapt it to the players, adapt it to Deshaun Watson and what this offense needs to be moving forward. So give me a Gerard Johnson, give me a Zach Robinson. Let's get a guy. Here's the thing. People want to go to Clint Kubiak. And the only reason I don't want to go to Clint Kubiak, and now I will admit, Clint Kubiak, it has now been with Kyle Shanahan for a little bit. So it's not like you're just getting Clint Kubiak, getting Gary Kubiak Jr. You're getting that, but you're also getting a guy that has now worked with a very good, very innovative guy in Kyle Shanahan. And so you've got to find a different voice, a different perspective, meld the best of both worlds. That's what they want to do. This absolutely did not come from Jimmy Haslam. I'm sorry, I'm not going to bring it up.
Right.
Meld the most of both worlds, build a better offense, put it together. I'm excited to see what they can do. And I know we skipped over Tommy Rees. We were going to start with Tommy Rees. So I'll go to you guys, just thoughts about offensive coordinator candidates and what I just said, and then we'll move to Tommy Rees.
I just want to say, like, if we're being honest, right, like let's rewind the clock back to training camp. They were trying to do that. They were putting Elijah Moore in the backfield. They're doing all these offensive things that we're getting excited about, and we're like, oh, this is going to be really different. And they tried it early on and it didn't work. And really the Browns passing offense this year was Amari Cooper, David Njoku, and everybody else. Right. And that to me is not a formula for long-term sustained success, because when Amari wasn't right, you saw the way the offense just nosedived. And then you combine the fact that they just could not find any success at all running the ball. And I think that there's a caveat here, because
things need to change. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces, right? Like the Browns had an amazing season, but when you dig into offensively what they were doing, there's a lot that was left to be desired. And so I think that the fact that they're recognizing that and saying this wasn't good enough is a good thing. And you're operating from a place of strength. You made the playoffs. You were 11-6. Like I feel like the Browns' offensive job is something that a lot of candidates would want to be a part of. And I just want to say something that stuck out to me bigger than anything else from the Andrew Berry press conference was Andrew was a little more candid than I think he normally was. Maybe that's like kind of getting some stability and comfort in your job, which, more power to you. I love the regime I think this is definitely the first regime since 99 that is getting their fifth year. But
yeah, I can't think of, like I said, I think Romeo was the closest, and that was 4.
Yeah.
That's the only other one I can remember being longer than 2 or 3.
Yeah. Andrew Berry saying that it's going to be up to Kevin if he gives up play calling or not is a really good sign to me, right? Because that's not power struggle. That's not, Kevin, you have to give this up and we're forcing you to do that. That is we're going to do what makes the most sense. And if they're saying that Kevin would be willing to give up play calling, that's the opposite of ego, man. That's doing what's best for the team. So I just got to push back against all of that egomaniac nonsense. That to me is direct proof.
Yeah. And he glowed about Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
I mean, just look. Also, Josh, I'm not putting that comment on the screen because you disrespected Puka Nacua. All right. So we're not doing it.
There will be no Puka disrespect. I will not.
None.
Can't do it.
I am not opposed to anyone they've kicked the tires on so far. When I look at the names they're talking to, the people they're bringing in, like I could be on board with that. I am excited about the prospect of Clint Kubiak, though. I know people are going to hear that last name and it's just all of a sudden you're going to all this Nepo baby stuff, but like that dude has been working hand in hand with Kyle Shanahan for the past few seasons, speaks that language, also speaks the Kubiak system language, has coached under Stefanski as the quarterback's coach when Stefanski was in Minnesota, but he's been exposed to Shanahan. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who's been exposed to a different modality. He's been the passing game coordinator in San Francisco. You watch how that passing game operates. I could be very interested in what I'm seeing. And it'd be a forward-thinking thing that they know they've worked together, so you already have that to where there's not going to be a struggle if they decide to go with it. I'm worried that Kubiak would want to come because he doesn't want to be viewed as just getting a name because of his job, because of his last name. Like I'm sure he's cognizant of that. And Stefanski's a direct lineage of Kubiak, so he might not want to go that route. But if you brought him in, I'd be very excited, man. And you wouldn't have to spend a whole off season reconfiguring your language, which people don't. That's a big thing for quarterbacks, for linemen, because that's all that different verbiage you hear in that huddle. In that 24 seconds, you got to disseminate all this information and go out there and execute. If you can keep the language somewhat similar, that's helpful for everyone who's going into whatever year you've been on this team. So if you've been on this team for 4 years, you've had the same language for 4 years. You just become more efficient in those things. So I see he's one of the guys you could bring in that has a similar background that I could get excited for, because I know that some of the pushback would be like, well, I don't think they'll bring enough evolution because he's stuck in that same similar modality, but his exposure to Shanahan erases all that shit for me. Just the fact that he's been in meeting rooms and game planning, breaking down film, everything with Kyle Shanahan would give me hope that he has a whole different train of thought now just because he's been exposed to that.
Yeah. So let's wrap up the offensive coordinator candidacy conversation. We'll go real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the number one? Is Clint Kubiak the number one for you, Casey?
I don't have a number one. I'm open.
Okay.
I want forward thinking. I want progression. I want someone who can take this thing to the next level and be one of those cutting edge offenses where the Browns were in 2020. When you look at what they were doing, they were near the tip of the spear. Some of the leagues caught up. It just is what it is, So they need to take that next step. Anyone who can make that happen, I'm all in favor of.
I like the connectivity with Gerard Johnson. Like, I think that makes sense. Right, from the Deshaun perspective. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously that's a good place to be. But I will say I have been upset that Kyle Shanahan left Cleveland since he left Cleveland. and if you're picking from offensive trees, McVay and Shanahan are 1A, 1B, whichever one. Take your pick. So I think I don't know that I can pick one. I think there's good options here. That's a great problem to have.
I think for me, it's Zach Robinson. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure if I had to pick one, it's Zach Robinson. For sure. The question pops. I
got to say, I'm out on Bevel. He was like, if you're looking at forward-thinking offenses, McDaniel and the Dolphins, you think, get someone from there. I'm out on Darrell Bevel. I can't erase what happened in the Super Bowl. Seattle played the Patriots, how that went down at the end, and Bevel made that call, just for the record. I can't erase that from my mind.
Okay.
Is Callahan going to coach with his son? It actually sounds like he's not. As of today, I thought he would, but now it sounds like it kind of not. I'm okay with Darrell Bevel. He was one of my top 6, but he's not top 2 or 3. He's probably 4 or 5 for me because Shane Waldron was one of them, and he's already got a job. So they're not going to go. They're not going to go for Shane Waldron just in that simple.
I do want to touch on Callahan before we bounce out of here, though, because you know he's one of the highest paid assistants in the league in Cleveland. So I'm sure he's happy with his pay. But if he had the opportunity to go coach with his son, it's something his son would want. Like I'd be completely cool if Callahan wanted to do that. And I think he's earned so much respect with the Browns front office and with the coaching staff. I don't think they would try to block it if he wanted to go with his son. I think that would be like the one place they would understand. And I think you're in good hands, man. You've already interviewed, I think, Andy Dickerson from the Seattle Seahawks. You brought him in, and he's an offensive line coach. Like that's what he is at his nature. So I think you've already kind of kicked the tires on that under the guise of offensive coordinator. But also, man, Scott Peters has been in Callahan's back pocket the entire time he's been here. So if you want to hand the reins over to him, I'd be completely fine with it.
Tommy Rees, real quick. Let's do Tommy Rees. One year this year down was the final Nick Saban year down there in Alabama, comes to Cleveland. They say he's the tight end coach, but there's also been the rumors that something like pass game coordinator could have potentially being the title. I think, Casey, you're the one I talked to about potentially them not going OC, but going pass game and run game coordinator. And that potentially being the way. Well, I'll say this about Tommy Rees. He worked with a lot of great tight ends at Notre Dame, both as a player and a coach with Notre Dame before he goes to Alabama this year. So people are like, tight end coaches. Actually, he got brought in by Saban to help evolve his scheme in running 2 tight end sets. Like that's why Tommy Rees went to Alabama, and he called plays this year, and he called some plays in Notre Dame. So it's interesting where I don't think Tommy Rees is coming in to call plays. If he was coming in to call plays, he would be the offensive coordinator. But
agreed.
You get a guy that has been in college football. Like he coached I think his first coaching job was with the Chargers. Is that right? I think it was the Chargers. So he starts in the NFL, goes most of his he played at Notre Dame, for anybody who wonders, why do I know that name? He was a quarterback at Notre Dame. But he has been in the NFL or in the college ranks. He's had a year as an offensive coordinator, in the SEC. There are, I just think it's really interesting that he's got kind of a nice blend of when we talk about a fresh voice, I think Tommy Rees is a fresh voice. He comes from a totally different kind of offensive scheme at Notre Dame and Alabama in terms of it. I just don't think it's what Stefanski runs, I guess is what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. But there's some elements of it, but he also had experience really with Jalen Milroe this year, running an offense with a running quarterback, with an athletic quarterback. I think that's a big deal. That really makes a big deal to me. But you get a college coach, fresh perspective, new voice. I'm all for Tommy Rees in Cleveland.
I love when the Browns bring in guys that have shown, competency well beyond what their coaching role in Cleveland will be, right? Like if you're calling plays and you're coming to Cleveland and you're going to coach tight ends. And so we'll see with that's a really interesting thought there, Casey, with the pass game coordinator. But I love that. And the other piece is I'm thinking that we're going to do a mock draft here. The Browns are probably going to draft a tight end. You need somebody to develop tight ends behind David Njoku, because Harrison Bryant, he was a contributor, right? I don't think he's going to be with the Browns moving forward. He's an unrestricted free agent this year. And Jordan Akins was your veteran ad, right? So you're probably going to get some youth in that room, and having a guy that's worked with all these tight ends at the college level, being your dude to get his hands on somebody young that I'm assuming the Browns are going to bring in, that's a win to me. I like that move.
I'm sorry, I love this comment. He goes,
"Yeah, I saw that."
Pat Shurmur, hello, just kidding. That offense was trash.
Dude, Josh brought up the name Frederick Kitchens.
That's okay. All right. He also brought up, why isn't Mike LaFleur getting interviews? Because he is an offensive coordinator right
now. How competent do you think Todd Monken? What percentage was Todd Monken responsible for making Freddie Kitchens' offense look competent? because the longer time
He was
goes
probably
on-
the only competent part of it. Yeah, I'd say.
Well, they were definitely huck it, chuck it. They operated mostly out of shotgun. I think a lot of those things were implemented by Monken, but he had nothing to do with play calling. And from everything that we'd hear, they would practice something completely different than what they would do on game day. Like that was like
He was throwing out game plans at 9 a.m. on Sundays.
Yeah.
He was like, you know that shit we practiced all week? Fuck that. We're not doing any of it.
Yeah. So I feel bad. Monken's definitely
What?
proved his worth in the NFL this season.
yeah.
So,
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Oh.
there we go.
Oh man,
Sexy.
there it is.
How'd that happen? Casey, did you I think I cut you off. Did you have something?
No, I was talking about Reese. I'm just forward-thinking people who've been exposed to different things, man, bringing them in the mix, getting their perspective, getting them in the meeting rooms, dissecting film. It's all good. And like you said, he's overqualified. I know some people are like, well, he's never been a tight ends coach. Yeah, he's overqualified to be a tight ends coach. That's a good thing if you're the Browns. You have a guy who's seen a lot, done a lot, had a lot more responsibility. He'll be able to put blinders on and kind of hone his way as a tight ends coach. And I don't think he'll be a tight ends coach for long, given what he has on his resume. So, good hire.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm with it. All right, let's do a fucking mock draft. Oh, quota.
Can I say thank God this is the last year that we're not going to have a pick in the first round. Thank God. I miss the days of double first round picks.
Yeah.
Not the results, but
But we don't talk about this enough, man. These last 3 years are sharpening our blades because we've had to be deep into this thing to find gems and nuggets. And with more front end talent available to you, I think it'll make those selections easier because we can't even entertain that shit. That's the reason Jacob's doing what he's doing. He actually gets to look at first round talent all day. I get it. We're not afforded that luxury as Browns fans as of today.
It's like, hey, look at all those picks that they have in 2025. They have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6, 6, 7, 7. Because that's where all those like pick swaps are. They were all in 2025 for whatever reason.
They won't have them by the time 2025 gets here.
No, I think
they'll be pick swapped for 2027.
Yeah,
it's also possible we get an extra couple thirds.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yep, you lose the right people that net you that.
Okay, we're on the board, pick 55 here. What are we thinking, boys?
Holy shit, Chop Robinson's available. What are we using, by the way? What are we using tonight?
This is PFF. This is PFF's mock draft simulator. I find myself, when it comes to my rankings, lining up a lot with my favorite draft guys are Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers. And Trevor Sikkema makes
shout out to the NFL Stock Exchange.
Yeah, fantastic show. They just dropped their episode yesterday was they're reviewing Daniel Jeremiah's first mock draft.
It was them versus DJ.
Yeah, I just started listening to it today, and I have only listened to like the first 15, 20 minutes, so I haven't really
it's on my queue for tomorrow. I already have it loaded up.
It'll really, I'll really dive into it. But yeah, Chop Robinson, there's a lot of like stuff going on with Chop where the NFL just doesn't like him because he's so raw. And it's like, yeah, man, he's got like 9 career sacks, but he's an absolute freak of nature. So it's like, whatever. Okay. Let's see. So
before we pick, can you scroll up and see what players just came off the board so we can give people an idea of people that are going to be available in that range? I see Jalen Polk as a receiver.
And Xavier Worthy's off the board. Oh, Xavier.
Yeah. I just want to see who went like in that immediate area before us.
Yeah,
see what kind of people are in
Josh
that range.
Patrick Paul, the tackle, Xavier Worthy, Jatavian Sanders, the tight end from Texas, is off the board.
Okay.
Kalen King, Tyler Guyton, Byron Murphy's off the board. Quentin Mitchell's off the board. It looks like a run of wide receivers was made too, which makes sense.
Which that is a position of need in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you got to hope that you're in the right run of that if that's what you're looking to do in round 2. Okay.
I'm not crazy about the. Here's this thing. I'm not crazy about him. But crazy about these guys up here. I know people like Jalen McMillan, but I know he's ranked 85th. But like I've got this thing for Roman Wilson from Michigan, the wide receiver from Michigan. They have him ranked 85th. I think he's a second rounder. I think he's as explosive as any player in this draft.
Okay.
Like, I think when you look at the wide receiver room and you're looking for a guy that can absolutely burn and can create after the catch and just he makes people miss in the open field. He finds ways to turn short gains into big gains. He's not a perfect refined route runner. He's a little bit smaller. He doesn't have a lot of the stats, but this dude creates just absurd amounts of separation, and he's as explosive as anybody comes. So that's what I think about Roman Wilson. But, you know, I think he should be much higher than that. But I'll show you the top guys in positions.
Gotcha.
Chop Robinson's on there. Brandon Dorless, I like a ton.
Like Dorless, yeah.
Yeah, inside-outside flexibility is pretty crazy with him.
Shoot J.J. McCarthy into a cannon. Get him out of my draft. I
have so many thoughts about J.J. McCarthy because of things that I've heard, and I'm just like, sure.
Yeah, I got McCorkle Jones vibes. I'm out.
Marvin Harrison went 5th to the Chargers for whoever was asking about that. Okay. Jonathan Brooks is there. Isaac.
Ooh.
Do you think the Browns would go running back? Well, I guess you're at 55, but I just obviously I think they want to put more in that room.
Yes.
Do you think they draft a running back with their?
I'm not at 55. I personally don't think they go at 55.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, but in this literal mock simulation, there isn't a running back off the board in this situation, and I think this
if
could
you had your
happen.
pick of everyone at the litter.
Yeah,
that's
everyone.
You're not wrong.
Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Bucky Irvington. Bucky Irving, Audrey. You have the whole pick right here at 50. That's what this draft is when it comes to running back. Like, I'm not totally crazy about this running back class because I don't think anybody really sets itself apart. But there are some 5 or 6 guys in the second and third round that I think you could get a little frisky with.
Okay.
And in this case, they're on the board at 55. You could go wide receiver, but a lot of them are gone, especially with Jalen.
Yeah, no. I don't like that run that just happened before you got your pick. You don't force it. I think that's something we got to realize too, is this isn't a front office that forces anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get freaky, you take Chop Robinson here because there is not an edge rusher in this class, in my mind, that has the upside.
Athletic profile of Chop Robinson. Yeah. You're right.
I think his upside, if you can get Chop to what he is capable of being, that upside is through the absolute roof. Like, there's a reason he's dropping out of people's top 5s. I mean, you look at it, you bring up the metrics. It's his size. He's 6'3", 250. I don't think he's 250. I think he's smaller than that. You only get the 3 sacks this year, 5 sacks last year, 18 hurries, 5 hits. But I will also point out his pass rush win rate was nearly 21% in the Big Ten. He forced Michigan to run the ball 30 straight times because they couldn't block him. The reason JJ McCarthy only attempted 8 passes was because his Penn State couldn't stop the run at all. And Chop Robinson was just absolutely manhandling guys. It's just
it makes sense. Like, okay, if you're drafting a guy based on upside, it makes sense for the Browns because the defensive end room is already a pretty deep place, right? So it's not like you need Chop to go out and be ultra productive immediately. It feels like a good situation to develop a dude that has traits you like. And especially with Andrew Berry mentioning that, they value pressures. And when you're talking about a dude who's winning his pass rush, I think that lines up with what they're looking for from their pass rushers.
Let's do it. Let's get freaky. Let's take the freak Chop Robinson at 55.
All right, I'm in. Sold.
Done.
Boom. We're back on the board. This is a great spot for wide receiver. Oh, Trey
The
Benson.
running back's looking at me right now. I'm looking at Trey Benson.
Spoiler for people that may want to listen to my podcast a little bit later this week on top running backs in the draft. Trey Benson is my running back 1 in this class.
Yeah.
I know people have Jonathan Brooks above him, and I think Jonathan Brooks is great, but I think Trey Benson really has a really great blend of size, speed, and he's a wrecking ball. He's a wrecking ball of a runner, and oh man! But I gotta see though
that's peruse.
Torrey Horton, Jamari Trash is fine. Malachi Corley's interesting.
Yeah, he is.
His usage reminds you of Deebo Samuel. So that's So
what's tight end look like here?
It's like this tight end class sucks.
There's a couple guys I'm excited for that are not premier names.
I mean, at this point, you're looking at Cade Stover, AJ Barner, Theo Johnson,
and they'll probably be there the next round. So
yeah.
All right, there's a name you just skipped over it. Jaheim Bell.
Where?
Tight end. You would just go down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jaheim Bell's fun. Yeah.
Dude, his skill set's ridiculous for a tight end. I watched that dude take like 12 carries at South Carolina in one game. Now he transferred and went to Florida State in the portal, but I've just seen his usage be crazy and his skill set's pretty out there. Be someone I'd be interested in if you can get him in the later rounds.
I wonder if I can come back at pick 138 and Audric Estime is there or Bucky Irving's there. That would be swell. Malachi Corley is interesting. I think they got to get more vertical at wide receiver, but you can do that in free agency. You can go get Calvin Ridley or T. Higgins or someone of that nature, and then you can get weird.
Before we make a move here, we need to get inside the head of the Cleveland Browns, which leads me to one thing. What's cornerback look like right here?
Oh, yeah. I guess that is about the time that they like to go cornerback. Jarian James is not a bad prospect at all. He's your slot corner. Oh, yeah, he is. He was their slot this year, but he's been the outside, and I do not. Oof. That's tough.
Don't kick tires, man.
I
really think. Well, I don't know that the Browns would force running back, but I definitely think they want to get somebody like
that raises the roof.
They tried to. I don't think it's all Jerome Ford's fault, but they tried to give him that role and let him shine in it, and he just did not take the reins, I don't think, the way that they wanted him to.
Quick sidebar. I saw the entire narrative that they got rid of Stump for leaking stuff to the media. I think the fact that Jerome Ford's eyes did not improve over the course of the season, as well as Pierre Strong did not develop, was probably what Stump got let go of. I
think so too.
Yeah, I can coach Nick Chubb.
Right? Right?
I honestly, in this situation, man, I do lean Trey Benson. I think Trey Benson, this is what I'll do.
I'll pull like 15 touchdowns last year. Something like that.
Yeah,
I know it's just like a random.
I have his stat. I have my draft note or my scouting notes. Hold on. Because I did finish Trey Benson's profile.
Okay, well, that lines up nicely.
Yeah. This year he had 14 touchdowns.
Okay.
906 yards this year, 5.8 a carry, 14 touchdowns, 1 touchdown through the air. He's not much of a receiver, but he wasn't a pass first only offense, which is kind of why I think he was just a 900-yard rusher for the past 2 years. He always finds a way to fall forward. He had 551 yards after contact and 45 missed tackles forced. He's got incredible foot speed for a guy of that size. He's 6'1", 223. I think he's a little inconsistent as a pass protector.
Okay.
He lacks the elite top speed to run away from defenses, but he's got a mean and nasty streak he has really good vision, and his short area quickness to explode through rushing lanes is pretty good.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Primarily, is he running out of shotgun?
Yes.
I'm in.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he's in that Florida State offense. Yeah, let's do it. Let's Trey Benson it up.
Got a running back. That's sexy. I
All
like
right.
it.
On one.
That name looks good on the back of a jersey, by the way.
Oh,
Benson. Yeah.
Benson.
I knew a girl that dated Cedric Benson when he was in Cincinnati. Yeah. So what are we thinking? What are we thinking here? We have not gotten our wide receiver. Do we want to see what our wide receivers?
Yeah, Mustafa's an interesting one.
So we've got
Like him at
an
safety.
edge rusher and we've got a running back so far.
Yeah, we just went for it.
Why not?
Moose Muhammad III.
That's a name. I could have
It
some fun
is.
tweeting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's.
Texas.
I have not done a lot of the work on some of these wide receivers.
For the most part, my day 3 knowledge is pretty poor right now. I will be getting up to speed in the next few months. I'm excited, man. We're only like a week away from the Senior Bowl, which is for me when it really kicks off.
Yeah, Senior Bowl kicking off next week.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I really like, by the way, at some point going tackle, I like Jonah Minahan. And the biggest thing I like from him from USC is you can see it here. He has been their right tackle. He's played a lot of right guard, and he was their left tackle this year. So
Wow.
this is a name maybe going with their next pick. I think that he screams at Andrew Berry like day
Versatility,
3,
yeah.
5th round offensive lineman, where they're like, man, we got to get a guy that can fix the situation we've got going on, at multiple different positions. What are we going to do? And he just screams it when it comes to that.
Allows you to move on from Hudson as well.
Yeah, it really does.
Which, yeah, it's probably time.
We're getting close.
I don't know what my things. It's one to.
I don't know, Brew McCoy.
I do a little bit like Washington. Yeah, this actually is probably where I would lean if we want to go wide receiver right now. Let me pull up the notes that I have on Malik Washington real quick. I did just watch him the other day, as random as that may sound to
What
you.
is slot snaps? Interesting.
Yeah.
So, like in that scenario, you're going to probably use Elijah Moore a lot more on the outside? Well, I guess this guy doesn't.
He's better out there. Elijah Moore's better out there in my mind.
Well, you saw what he was able to do in that Jets game when they put him on the outside. That's where all that success
true.
came.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean,
He was on his way. I'm still upset, by the way.
you see this right here, don't you? That as a wide receiver, that
35 missed tackles.
Nobody
some
forced
wiggle.
more missed tackles than he did.
That's some wiggle, yeah.
That's first. Slot yards 1,100. Slot catches 93. 11 contested catches. 64.7% contested catches. 5'8", 194. He's a smaller, quicker, more agile guy in the open field.
I mean, you just drafted big body Cedric Tillman, right? Like, it makes sense to get a diverse room. And so I think a guy that's quicker, elusive, a little smaller, that makes sense to me.
May I interest you in taking my tackle friend?
Is he still on the board?
Fuck. No, someone took him. You dicks.
Yeah. Hey, dude, that's the game. That's what makes it interesting.
The fucking Bengals.
Yeah. Yeah, but if someone needs tackle help, that's them. That's
Eichenberg just went the
Ladarius Henderson is the left tackle. Was the left tackle for. He's not really a very good true pass.
Well,
But we're in the 5th round. All right.
All right, 5th round. There's some positions I want to take a look at. I want to see tight end again to see if anyone has slipped to be worth it. Bell's still there. Who else? Let's take a look.
Just put together the Florida State draft class.
Yeah, by accident. I'm not even trying to do that.
Oh, I didn't even. Yeah, that's one of those things.
Trey Knox was
Hey, they were a great offense this year.
Trey Knox is fun.
Yeah.
What's our top look like? Sanat really is. Sanat is fun. 2 drops this year. Depth of target at 10.1 is fun.
That's good for a tight end. Yeah.
Played in the slot some. 130 in the slot. You can line him up all over the place. 6'4", 245. I think he's a pretty good blocker if I remember correctly. Yeah, run block rate of 76.1. They do need a run blocking.
Yes, they do.
Second tight end. I don't know. I'm good with that. Do you want to go Ben Sanat there?
Yeah, if he's still available in the 5th, I think that's a slam dunk.
Later in the
I'm into it.
Well, now we're in the 6th. Now we got some old quarterbacks.
Hartman, Taglio. There we go.
Oh man, that's an interesting one. He's just a pure center, though. I always thought, like, I've seen some people talk about him being a guard.
A guard. Yeah.
Yeah, but like he's never really played it. So we could look interior offensive line. It's not great.
Okay, so we've got tight end, wide receiver, running back, edge rusher.
Yeah.
So
should we take a corner here? Because
they've never not drafted a corner.
Yeah,
I think that needs to be said. They'll find somebody.
Mm-hmm. He's an outside corner for sure. I like to try to like some of these guys. I'm just a little bit. We're starting.
I swear I'm not trying to go Florida State all the time, but like I like that name, Fentrell Cypress.
That's a name.
The second.
The second.
Yeah, there was another.
He's not the first one.
They had to run it back.
Honestly, I think linebacker makes a ton of sense here.
Yeah,
that's fair too.
You keep renting older players. They definitely need to keep developing that position.
They're like 4 or 5 linebackers. Like linebackers, probably the biggest free agent group among the Browns. Like moving into because Jacob Phillips, Sione Takitaki, Matthew Adams, Anthony Walker. That's 4.
Yeah. Honestly, right now today, Talk's the only one I view as someone like I really want them to bring that dude back because
I'd like to have Sione.
He's a nasty Sam, and you can step in and be your secondary Mike if he needs to be. Like he's
a good coverage player, and that's where we're moving and trending. I'd like more. That's where I would go.
Okay, I
would go this. I would lean this way, and I would take a linebacker.
I definitely think you need a linebacker.
Yeah, you definitely need. Like you said, you got so many that you're probably not re-signing. They might try to get Adams back, but that's just special teams. That doesn't. You definitely got to be forward thinking.
I like going into this with no plan and just taking random players and just seeing what it looks like.
Yeah, well, this front office lets people fall to them, man.
So what is the Browns linebacker room that aren't free agents? Is it just JOK and Kunasik?
No, Kunasik's a free agent.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, Diabate.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
I'm hoping he can develop. I liked a lot of what we saw from him earlier in the preseason, but that's preseason, so.
I thought he went back.
What if I told you there was a whole fan base that thought their quarterback was going to throw more than 6 touchdowns for the season because of a preseason?
Right? That'd be wild.
If I
No
was going
names.
to go guard offensive lineman here, 6'4", 315 pounds, Layden Robinson is a big zone. He's a better zone blocker than he is a gap blocker.
Dunn's a free agent as well, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling you could see one of the guards not named Joel Bitonio traded. I have a feeling.
I was listening to the OBR today, and they were talking about like the players post-conference, post-season press conference, and they were saying that I didn't hear Joel Bitonio speak, but they were saying, which shout out to Jake and Andrew Spade, love both those guys, but Joel was really speaking glowingly about next year, and so you get that guy healthy again. I'm hoping. It sounds like he's gearing up and feels like his body's gonna continue to be where he wants it to be, which I'm glad to hear that.
Jaden Crumley is a guy I kind of like as a project defensive tackle. He's 6'5", 305, so he is one of the bigger guys, but I think he's a better pass blocker than people think pass rusher than what you would think at 305 pounds. And I think he's the kind of guy I would like to see what Jim Schwartz could do with.
I see a question in the chat. Are they still in on Jacob Phillips? I don't see how you could be.
I don't think so. He's a free agent.
I just don't see how you could be.
He's a free agent.
I mean, he's been injured for the most of the season, the last 2 seasons, right? So
most of his career.
Most of his career. Yeah, he's missed more games than he's played by far.
Yeah. He had a couple nice moments. I remember that.
He's got a good athletic profile.
Mm-hmm.
I accidentally selected someone. Okay, what do we want now?
Did you get Crumley or Crumdy? I will say this: we're far enough now that there's only a few names I'm going to be in on. Can we? What pick are we at right now?
The last pick 231.
What's safety look like?
Safety actually looks pretty good.
It seems to be a position that falls more than.
Oladipo.
Yeah, he's fun because he's better. I think he just crashes downhill. Oh, that's right. They played him a ton in the slot too. Look at that. Deep safety, box safety, slot slave. That's an Andrew Berry pick.
It sounds like it. I need to know his age, but other than that, it sounds like it. But we're also to the point where age isn't a big factor to get late in drafts.
The redshirt senior, but who gives a shit?
I mean,
all right, let's grade our picks.
How do we do?
Probably, I reached.
We probably broke it. We probably broke the machine.
This is a nice draft because I feel like
I got an F for Malik Washington. I knew I was going to because they have him at 195 on their big board night. They took him at 138. We got a B. Look at that. There's our mock draft where we kind of
our best grade came with the very last pick.
Yeah, there.
How Andrew Berry of you.
We kind of half-assed that mock draft, but
I think it's exciting, man.
I think you added the positions and the skill versatility that you actually need to add to this roster because you're to the point now, like you're not banking on draft picks. These are finishing touches.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
They're also guys for the future.
I need you to play tomorrow. That ain't where we're at anymore.
Yeah, you're taking a bunch of people from the future. So before we sign off, we're gonna do what we're watching. We're gonna be off for the next couple of weeks, so we won't see you guys for 3 weeks. We'll be back. We will be back.
Let's see. That's in February, right?
We will be back February 13th. Our next show will be February 13th. So, Nick, what are you watching?
I just saw. So I have HBO Max or whatever, and they have the new season of Rick and Morty. And I am not going to sleep until I watch all of them because that's just I'm that type of. I watch nothing over. Right? There's two shows. That's it. I watch The Office and I watch Rick and Morty. And I've watched Rick and Morty more times than I can even tell you. I don't I saw that yesterday, and I was like, I can't start. I really want to start the first one, and I was like, if I start the first one, I'm not going to go to bed. So tonight, I don't have to work tomorrow. I'm watching the whole Rick and Morty, whole thing done. Boom, there it is.
You have no idea how jealous I am. I get Rick and Morty's one of my favorite shows of all time. The world building. Rick Sanchez is my spirit animal. That also makes me dangerous, but it's true. So show, actually, now that football's over, I'm back on shows. Me and my daughter and my wife started watching the Percy Jackson series on Disney.
Oh God, I love it.
Love it.
Yeah, it's to the point where we actually there was a book fair at my daughter's school last night. We went in and got a Percy Jackson book, so we're going to continue the show. We've already burnt through the show. We've already knocked it all out. So very good, man. It was very entertaining, and I'm like into that Clash of the Titans, Greek mythology. I like all that shit. So
I read all of them.
Have you seen? I haven't. I actually ran a movie theater when the first Percy Jackson came out. Didn't see it because I was movied out.
It was not good.
Yeah, well, good. I didn't see it, so the show's kind of my introduction, and it was awesome. I enjoyed the whole thing. It was very entertaining. Recommended it to anyone out there. If you have little kids, there's a couple scary moments, but like she got through them early. You got to the point where she was cool with it, so we definitely enjoyed it, and I would recommend it highly.
I'm watching 2.5 Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
It does not hold up, by the way. It does hold up for the most. It does for most of it, but there are some things that are said. There is a point where they use the R word, and I was shocked that it had not gotten taken out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I think you say.
Yeah, thank you, Zach.
We love you guys. Thanks for spending so much time with us this season, getting us through this long season. We will be gone for you for a couple of weeks as we kind of take a little time off to recharge. I'll still be dropping draft podcasts and things like that, but we're just going to reclaim on Tuesday night for a couple of weeks.
I just wanted to say as we close here, I think with every season progressively, all three of us have gotten deeper and deeper in all of this. And so it's like by the time we get to the end of the season, it feels weird because I love talking about the Browns, but I think everybody, no matter what you do and no matter how much you love it, everybody needs a break at some point. Yeah. So thank you for all the support that all of you gave us. I mean, we grew more this year than I could have even thought we did. I can't wait to see where it goes, and we are going to come back. I'm going to start, so these two are really good at draft just knowledge. And so it is going to be my quest this year that by the time we get to the draft and do our Network 216 draft show, that I'm going to have a pool of knowledge, just a fraction of what these two offer. That's the plan. So with that being said, I don't know what we lost count. So thank you for making that possible, too. This has been an episode of the Barking Browns Show. And Nick, he's Jacob. That's Casey. Go Browns.
See you next time.